Hello everyone, Chris Collins here from the SCSeTools support team. We're going to be taking a look at the mapping features today within SCSeTools. More specifically, how to navigate and to use the mapping features that are available to you. So the first thing we're going to do is jump on over here to eTools itself. When you log in, you'll see your typical dashboard where it has a list of all the sites you have access to and just a quick little breakdown of what's kind of going on with your sites. We'll go ahead and select the eTools landfill here for the demonstration. And we'll jump on over to our maps. We have three different types of maps. We have the filter maps, the range maps, and the points monitored maps. The filter maps allows you to actually drill down into the data if there's something specifically that you're looking for. So if you want to see, if the typical example that we would use would be a high methane. If you wanted to see anything that had methane greater than 55%, you have that ability to do, which I'll show you how to do momentarily. The range maps allows you to give you a broad range of what any one single parameter is for the landfill. So you can kind of see how the site's doing overall, and how the wells compare to each other type thing. The points monitored map is just a very basic map for just letting you know where you're at within your monitoring period, so you can kind of tell what's still yet to be monitored during the month. Obviously, for larger sites, that'll be a little bit more useful than some of the smaller sites there. So we're going to take a look at the filter maps. I'm going to select it from the ribbon bar here. On the right-hand side, you'll see our landfill that we have set up here, the eTools landfill. On the left-hand side, you'll actually see the configuration that we have for setting up those maps. So we have our date range in the top left. We have the different types. They're very similar that we have to our data review and other parts of the application as well. So we can type this in. We have a calendar icon here. We have a bunch of presets, or you can do a custom range there as well. We'll do the last 365 days for the sake of the video. For the point types down below that, this will show you the list of the different types of points that you have set up. I'll go ahead and click on the arrow to expand this so we can see what we're working with. So we have the wells, the monitoring probes, the flares. For example, for the probes here, you'll see them. They look like triangles. We'll go ahead and deselect them, and I will just remove them from the map. Down below that, we actually have a list of all the individual IDs, instrument IDs that we have set up for the site. So we have our flare, we have our probes, and then we got a couple horizontal collectors right here and our extraction wells here at the bottom. We can go through and we can deselect any individual ones if we don't really care about looking for that data. Maybe it's only certain wells that we're looking for. We can go through and we can deselect those ones so that they're not pulled up in the data. You also have the options of groups in here as well. The groups feature works the same as it does in the data review and some other reporting features within eTools. If you can send a list of IDs for a specific group, so for example, maybe there's 10 wells that you're really wanting to keep an eye on. Maybe you have to look at weekly or whatever the case may be, that you're constantly working on. You can send that list of support and whatever you want to have that labeled as, and then we can add a drop down here so we'll automatically only select those IDs. If you have different reporting requirements or whatever for a specific set of wells, maybe there was some issue with oxygen or high temp or something like that that you're trying to keep an eye on, then we can actually go through and add that just so it'll pre-select those real quickly for you. We'll go ahead and keep all of those selected for the sake of the demo though. I'll go ahead and collapse that. Down below that, we actually have the ability to enter the parameter that we're wanting to take a look at, that we're trying to drill down into. You'll see the addition icon here. I'll go ahead and click it. And then we'll go ahead and select, again, for the sake of the demo, the CH4, the methane there. We want to see anything that's greater than 55%. So we'll select the CH4. Operator value we have here, we want to see anything that's greater than or equal to. And then the operand here, we'll go ahead and put 55 for 55%. You do have the options to add multiple parameters if you like. Once we have these entered, we can click anywhere here in the bottom. You'll notice that changes that over from green over to orange. And then we can add multiple ones there if we wish. We can go ahead and delete them or make edits to them as well. If you do have multiple ones in there, by default it'll use the logic of OR, so it can match either one of that criteria. We can go ahead and click on where it says OR here though and change that to AND. So if you have multiple ones there, it'll have to meet all of that criteria that you have set down below there. So if you have any questions with that, feel free to contact support as usual, and we'll be more than happy to discuss that with you. By default, it's always on OR though, so we'll go ahead and select that as OR. Down below that, the selected points will show up in orange, and the unselected points by default will show up in gray. We'll go ahead and keep all of that as default. Down below that in the configuration, we have a couple options here, so we can actually circle any open exceedances that we currently have within our date range. We can also show abandoned or inactive points, as well as whatever those individual values that triggered that whenever we pulled that data up. We'll go ahead and select the point names. I always do this with the mapping, and it'll actually go ahead and label those for you, as you can see. So you can see exactly what ID it is that you're looking at, what well it is. Down below, that's the map image overlays. The image overlays we actually cover in a separate video that is available on the YouTube channel. Feel free to check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. So I'll go ahead. We have all of this selected now. I'll go ahead and create my map here at the bottom left. And you'll see that it instantly goes ahead and highlights the ones that we have here on the right that actually meet that criteria. So all these that are actually in orange has data that is greater than 55% methane. All those that are grayed out does not contain data that's greater than 55% methane or equal to. We can have the option now. We can go through for the unselected points. We can go ahead and hide those if you just want to remove those from the map, so we can kind of hone in on the ones that we do want to look at. We have that ability right there. One thing with the mapping feature that is the same throughout all of the maps is you can click on any individual ID here, and it'll show you the past 6 months worth of data. So it gives you that rolling data. You can export that into an Excel file if you wish. So if you actually needed to look at the raw data. So for example, if we're looking at high methane, you can see what's been going on over the last 6 months. You can see that it started out relatively low, and then it started to gain a good bit there. And you can see what the correlation was at to the static pressure and so on and so forth there. So go ahead and close that out. For all of the maps, again, we can save these as a PDF. So you can click on Save as PDF, and it'll take a screenshot of this on the right. And then also, it'll show all of the parameters that we have set up here on the left, a nice little key for you so you know what you're looking at there. You have right-click functionality in the maps as well. If we right-click anywhere here on the map, we can show any of the IDs that we currently do not have GPS information for. You can also drop a pin here if you wish, to where we can see exactly what that GPS information is, where you drop that pin at. This is good if you have, a technician that's not really that familiar with the site, something specific. Maybe you got to wash out in a certain area you're trying to, point out for a map for somebody to go take a look at and to take care of. You have that ability here to go ahead and do that. Export that in a PDF, and it will show up there as well. We'll go ahead and right-click and just go ahead and remove that as well. We'll unpin it. I'll go ahead and hide that for you. So as mentioned, the range maps then is to look for one specific parameter and to compare that for the rest of your sites. We'll go ahead and select on range maps. Very similar setup here on the left. We'll go ahead and do our date range again, down to the last 365 days. We have a list of all of our IDs, the same things that we just covered. The differences here on the select the preset range here on the left, there's a bunch of pre-programmed ranges in the system that basically will go through and assign collars to the certain ranges. We'll look at CH4 mid-range for our example. Once we select that, you'll see the different collars, anything from 0 to 25. On average will be yellow, 25 to 48, blue, so on and so forth. You can change these collars if you wish. You can hide them, remove them. You can make the changes of what the upper and lower bounds are of the different weights that you actually want to apply to that. If any of the parameters that we do not have a preset for, there is a select parameter here as well. That basically will list everything that your instruments do record out in the field. So if we don't have a preset, you can select that and assign your collars and your weights and everything individually there. Scroll down here to the bottom. Again, I'll turn the point names on just so we can see which wells that we're dealing with. And then we have the overlay functionality here at the bottom as well. I'll go ahead and click on Create Map. Once we create the map, you'll see the individual collars are showing up here. So the green, you can tell, is between 48 and 52 on average. The yellow is 0 to 25. Kind of gives you a quick little snapshot of what's going on with your landfill. One good example for this, if you're looking at available vacuum in your header line, if you have, a sump or something that you're having issues with, you can do available pressure. So it'll actually tell you kind of where you're losing vacuum at. Or maybe you have, laterals that are starting to water in, that sort of thing. It'll really, really kind of point that out whenever you start doing your range maps here. That's kind of the intent of that. The third map, the last but not least that we have here, is the points monitored map. I'll go ahead and select that. Pretty straightforward. Again, it just lets us know where we're at during our monitoring period. I'll go ahead for the pre-select. We'll go ahead and click on the calendar. Go back to the last day of last month because I don't have any data currently loaded for this month. We have a list of all the IDs that we have here on the left, as well as the collars. Anything that has been monitored will be orange. Anything not monitored will be gray here. Go ahead and create the map. And we'll see just right off the bat here, all of these have been monitored. The only one that has not been monitored is here in the center. That is gray. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Our information is email support@SCSeTools.com. Our phone number is 866-612-6820, and our active hours are 8 o'clock Eastern Time, Monday through Friday to 5 o'clock Pacific. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel if there's any questions or anything like that you would have or want us to actually have some kind of discussion, or, any recommendations that you may have to pass along. Feel free to contact us at our support email address or on YouTube. And if there's anything else that we can do for you, just feel free to let us know. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.